Hello, I am the Awkward GM Corbin, and today we are interviewing the creators, the creators of a wonderful new Scarred Lands community content called Sagus's Guide to the Titanspawn. Please introduce yourselves. We can start with Alain.
Hi everyone, my name is Giorla. I'm a Scarred fan and I created a lot of community content for the Slarecian Vault, a little bit for Canis Minor and Story Pass Nexus. And I am the project lead and I did also some writing for Sangus' Guide to the Titanspawn.
Awesome. And now Sarah.
Hi, Sarah Stewart. I'm been a Scarred Lands fan since the very beginning, much like Alain. And he understates how much he's written for the Slarecian Vault. I've also written for the Slarecian Vault on several of projects with him, as well as with my own people, more like This Industries and Travis Legg. I'm also one of the co-authors of Vigilant Through Shadows and Dreams, Scarred Lands novel, and Scarred Lands GM for 25 years. And I consider myself an expert, which is saying, well, there you go. But other people have referred to me as an expert, so I just kind of took it and went, okay, I guess I am.
You're definitely an expert compared to me. I don't know much about Scarred Lands. And Adam.
Hello, I'm kind of new here. I'm one of the writers that kind of jumped on and was like, hey, I'll come and help. Adam Bielefeld. I'm here with my wife. Anyway, I've been doing like Scarred Lands related like D&D stuff and reading the books since I was like 14. So I've been into the setting for a long time now, and it's a privilege to have been able to work on this book.
Awesome. And apologies for the having Adam in a car. That is probably on my doing for rescheduling the time. Apologies again.
It's okay. So I'm just moving around.
So starting with the Scarred Lands is an existing setting that Onyx Path Publishing has created in regards to a Dungeons and Dragons type setting night. And this is also, as far as I know, the Sagus's Guide can you describe what it is in relation to Scarred Lands? What does this product bring to Scarred Lands?
Can we mute Adam for now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a car.
Why don't you...
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is so Scarred Lands has been around for, as I said, 25 years. Originally published by White Wolf and Sword and Sorcery. Did a bunch of books in the early aughts, kind of faded away, came back in the teens, mid to late teens. Nocturnal Media got the rights, and then Onyx Path got the rights from Nocturnal Media. So it's been a crazy road, but they opened this thing called the Slarecian Vault, which allows fans to write content in much the same way the GM's Guild works for Wizards of the Coast properties. Except that we kind of like went crazy and wrote a lot of stuff. And it's a very niche fandom, I would say. While I think it's a phenomenal setting. It doesn't have quite the fandom levels as Faerun or any of the more recent stuff you're seeing from all the streams and whatnot. But I love it because it's got this post-apocalyptic horror edge, and yet there's a lot of nuance and interesting things and so much lore. So they're originally it all came out for 3X, and over the years, since 5th edition have come out, they've done a lot of conversions to the old monsters. There were several hundred monsters. So Alain was like, hey, let's do a monster book. We've done a bunch of other books. We did a boat book. We did a potions book. Or I can't even name all the books you've done, Alain. You've done a lot of books. Like I've done like 12.
Yeah, that's
20.
fine.
You've done like a lot. Dozens.
Yeah. but the idea was to take some of the monsters that were not converted yet by Onyx Pass Publishing and do the work ourselves. And not only that, but also enrich the setting by bringing our own new crazy ideas of monsters that we can torture our player with.
Yeah.
There
were two other things this book did for us, though, for me at least. One, during the research Alain had gotten this list together of like, here's a bunch of monsters from Creature Collection 2 that haven't been converted. Great list. I was like, how many haven't been converted? And I started doing a research thing. It took me 2 months. I looked through every single Scarlands book I could get my hands on. I already had all the old ones. I got a bunch of the newer ones I had all the official ones from the 5e section, Pathfinder, looked at a bunch of ones from the vault and made a ginormous spreadsheet of all the monsters that have shown up. It's close to, it's like 900 and something creatures. I'm not kidding.
That's
I'm not exaggerating. So I built this giant spreadsheet, and that kind of got me really, really into the project. Alain had brought me on board initially for editing and maybe do a creature, and I ended up doing 3 creature types, but also expanding on them. And I think I ended up writing 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 stat blocks. I think I did.
Whoa! and how many are in the book?
Oh, for the book, for this book.
Yeah, how much in total for the book?
I said I did about 13 stat blocks for this book, and yeah, we've got over 30 monster types, over 50 stat blocks, and over about 30 monster types. So we've got a bunch of monsters with subtypes and stuff.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And what the most amazing thing for us, at least for me, is that we managed to get art. Made it either through some of the existing art that we were allowed to use that Onyx Path had published, since these were conversions, but we couldn't get everything we wanted. Some we found through stock arts of like, yeah, we just need a guy in armor. Okay, this will go. But then a bunch we also pulled in 3 phenomenal artists who worked for not enough. Who did some of the coolest art for our new monsters and even some of the conversions. And we managed every monster type. I wouldn't say every monster in the book, but every monster type in the book has art, which is a big deal for a community content title, because we did this on no budget. Like it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was like, well, I have some credit on drive-thru from other books I've sold that I can use to buy more stock art. Alain did the same thing, and our layout guy did that too.
One good thing about getting some illustrators on board with us is that some of them did brand new illustration of very cool monsters, and we said, okay, we need to use this make a new monster. So they actually contributing in giving us ideas to write about.
Oh yeah. There was this Faye did this image. This is what really got me excited about this project. Because I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll get to it, because it was sort of on my back burner. Then I got into the spreadsheet thing, and then she drew this artwork, and it was amazing. And it ended up, we didn't know what the monster was going to be. She was like, I'll just sketch out this thing, and she drew this thing, and we're like, that is some kind of minion of Gulaben for sure, because it looks like lady parts. And we're like, it does, doesn't it? Oh my gosh. Well, I think it's a wind elemental. I'm like, she's the Titan of Wind.
So what's this creature, so I can put an image up for people?
It's called the
Celestial Reaper.
Celestial Reaper, right?
The picture is on page 31.
Yeah, and this is her second take on the drawing. This is not the original one she did. It was a little bit toned down. But
oh yeah, I can see where you're going there. That one artist, I can't think of her name. The flowers opening.
Oh, Giorla O'Keeffe.
Yeah.
I'd say this is more evident than anything O'Keeffe did, or
definitely
than most of what O'Keeffe did. But
Giorla O'Keeffe plus H. Geiger
Yeah. Keith meets Geiger, and you've got the what's her name? The Celestian Reaper. I'm trying to remember the specific name of the Reaper. Slarecian. Yeah. I love everything we did for this book. It's so fun. We've got ranges from CR little tiny, I think we have a CR0, all the way to 26, I think. And I think our Reaper is in fact the 26.
One of the 26 who have 226.
226. The other whom I also love the art for, which I also think Faye did, which is the Forge Mother. So the thing about the Scarlands is there's all of these huge elder gods, sort of, so to speak, called the Titans. 150 odd years ago, there was this giant war between the Titans and their children, the gods, of which fought minions of Titans, minions of the gods, and created the post-apocalyptic world that we live in now, which includes an ocean of blood and a bunch of other horrible things, which makes for a great campaign setting. Each of the Titans left behind these minions, these Titanspawn, and this book is not just about, oh, we've got a bunch of new monsters, but it's also about what the heck is a Titanspawn, which is a word that's bandied about left and right throughout the setting, but never really clearly defined and used inconsistently. So
what is a Titanspawn?
We decided to define it for this book, which some people might be like, I don't want to define it. I like it loosey goosey, and I'm like, yeah, keep it loosey goosey for your setting, whatever you want to do. But here's a definition you can use if you choose to have a more solid definition. And so our introductory of the book that I wrote is all about what is it. And we debate, my wife and I, who's one of the other writers in the project and who edited all my work on the project, because I couldn't edit my own stuff. Her and I spent like hours, and then we would go to Alain and we're like, what do you think of this? And then we go to the other people in the project, what do you think of this? And we finally get it down to two things. A Titanspawn is not just a creation of a Titan, because most things on the planet are creations of the Titans.
I mean, the gods are
gods themselves.
And you are not going to call them Titanspawn. That would be an insult.
Yeah. So it's something that is a direct connection to a fallen Titan, which can be a physical thing, like I adjusted its remains, or a patron for something like a warlock, or energy like a sorcerer, or power like from a druid if they pray to them. They're not clerics. Don't get anything from Titans, like because you can't pray to a Titan like you can to a god. Clerics don't get magic from that. It's just druids. So you have to have a direct connection to a fallen Titan, and this is the important piece, directly serve that Titan's interests, consciously or unconsciously. That was the tricky one, because we've got a bunch of monsters that are considered Titanspawn, but they're like beasts or animals or whatever, and they're not they're not consciously doing it. But if a Vengarak who knows what a god follower is instinctively and will go and kill them, but yet has an intelligence of 3, it is serving that Titan's interest, even if it's not really thinking about it, or various things that spread diseases in ways that just a typical plague would do, but beyond that, or creating plagues and creating things like disturbances and whatnot. But it doesn't count things like constructs, animals, plants, undead, because they aren't created that way. Some undead, some constructs, sure, but most of them don't. So it was really, and then it's sort of looking piece by piece at each creature and going, do you fill these two definitions? And it was interesting because a bunch of things that had been defined as Titanspawn before, we went, no. like that's a follower of an evil god. That has nothing to do with a Titanspawn. It's not a Titanspawn. Or that was created by a Titan, but it doesn't follow a Titan anymore. It follows a god, but the god happens to be evil. Or this is a follower of the one Titan who didn't serve with the Titans in the war, the Deneb, the Earth Mother. She was on the side of the gods. So followers of her shouldn't be considered Titanspawn because they're not trying to bring the evil Titans back. They're with the good Titans. So why would we call them Titanspawn? Unicorns aren't Titanspawn. Dryads aren't Titanspawn. They're just woodland creatures. so we kind of narrowed in that definition a little bit. And again, you can do whatever you want in your game. I'm not saying, this is the rules you have to abide by in your D&D game, but it's sort of like, here's something to play with.
And so with all these new boatload of new creatures you've created, which one was your favorite to work on? I know it's like choosing your favorite child or game or anything, but like what would you say was the most fun you had like designing?
Someone else should take this first.
Adam, why don't we go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, unmute.
Okay, so for me, one of the favorite ones to work on, so there's these group of demons that they look like locusts. They're called locust demons. In the lore, there's a regular locust demon. There's another one that's given a gift and powered up a little bit. And then there's supposedly one named Zzzt, which is spelled Tzzt.
Yeah, I'm looking at that one. That one's awesome looking.
Yeah, they were very fun. I actually went back to games that I've played as a player with one of the artists who we brought in. They had played a flying race, and their entire goal with building the character was to grapple somebody, fly straight up into the air, crash down. They have barbarians, so they're resistant to bludgeoning damage. So they take less damage than the other guy. Just complete suplex build. And that went into the regular Locust Demon. And then taking it a step further, went with spike growth and that entire meat grinder kind of strat. And that's what the major Locust Demons were kind of based off of. And then Zzzt, I just had fun with it. I was like, okay, how can I make a Demon Lord based off of famine, the nastiest thing in existence? So he has a whole bunch of writhing parasites that he gives to Locust Demons to turn them into greater Locust Demons. And he's completely contagion based because he's made by the Titan Churn, who is the disease Titan. He is the spreader disease. So his entire skill set revolves around contagion. And it is nasty going up against them.
He's our other CR26.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a great monster. And I've got to learn how to run it better.
Yeah.
And it was interesting is technically he's redeemed, even though he's created by Churn and clearly spreads Churn's disease, and because he's a demon of pestilence, and Churn is the Titan of pestilence. But he vowed himself when at the end of the war, he's like, I will follow the god of pestilence instead of the Titan's pestilence. Sure. But so he's technically not a Titanspawn anymore. He's technically redeemed, as all of his followers are, because they follow him. But it's that's one of them gray areas, because at any time he could just be like, maybe I won't follow Vengel anymore, and maybe I'll go off on my own. Which case I think he's but if he decides at some point to say no, I'm back with Churn, then he's a Titanspawn. So it's like that fuzzy. He falls in that gray area, which I love it.
And he's a little afraid of going against Vengel at this point, because Vengel nearly killed him in the Titans War.
Yeah.
Like, to the point that he is no longer immune to the frightened condition, like most demons are.
Yeah. Vengel is the chaotic evil god on Skarn.
The god of destruction, and he killed a lot of things during the Demon War.
Yeah, Vengel was responsible for killing several of the Titans. So, Zzzt has reason to be afraid of him.
Yeah.
Despite being 026. So, yeah, that's a fun one.
So, my favorites of the lot on which I worked on directly is the Dirt Rag Dragon. So, Rag Dragons are dragons made of elemental matter created by the Titans to serve as their lieutenants and general during the Titans War. So in the Scarlands, the true dragons, so the usual dragons, the chromatic dragons, the metallic dragons, they stayed away from the Divine War, and they didn't intervene. So the Titans wanted some kind of super weapon and created the Rag Dragons as a result. So the Death Rag Dragon is a kind of earth elemental dragon who is made of the soil from ancient battlefields. So you have a mixture of earth and bones and rusted weapons and armors that is animated in the shape of a giant lizard, essentially. And we had a little bit of back and forth with Frances and Sarah, because my initial idea was it's a creation of Denev, so the Titan of the Earth, the good Titan, that got corrupted during the war. And we thought at some point that it wouldn't work that well. And we had different ideas, we pitched different ideas. And in the end, what we settled on is that they were animated spontaneously from the battlefield of the Divine War. They were not created by any Titan per se, but they are the leftover from the Titans War. So there is a kind of misconceptions because they are rag dragons. So scholars of Scotland believe that they are Titanspawn like the other rag dragons. But if you look at it from a more neutral perspective, or from a researcher's perspective, you wouldn't classify them as Titanspawn.
Because they have like the necromancy stuff around them.
Oh yes, they can animate undead and they can bolster undead. Actually, they have a cool ability which can make lower level undead more deadly, which is that when they roll a d20, instead of rolling a d20, they roll 1d10 plus 10. So that really increases their odds of hitting PC with very high AC.
Yeah.
So, even a tier 1 undead can become quite deadly in the presence of that dragon, and that reinforces the myth of the image of that dragon being a general of an army of undead.
Ooh, fancy.
We lost Adam. I'm hoping he'll rejoin, but I hope that doesn't mess up whatever it is you're doing for the recording.
I still see him, but he's definitely got the red bars of ping latency.
Okay. How can I pick it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know how to pick a favorite because there's so much. There's so many cool things in this book. I mean, we came up with a bunch of new kind of ideas and concepts. It's tough, it's like 5e's been around for a while, and one of my frustrations with 5e actually was the fact that we lost a lot of that kind of extra stuff you could do in 3.5 D&D. I admit I skipped 4th edition. Sorry, not sorry. But
I'm a 4th edition apologist. I
tried it.
It's the quick soapbox of they did a lot of good things for Dungeon Masters, but then there was such a huge pushback on it when 5e came out. They removed all of that stuff just by association.
I'm sorry about the reflect, but there is a creature collection made for 4th edition if there are players of Scarlands for 4th edition. So
it's the only 4th edition book I don't know. It's the only Scarlands book I don't know.
So if someone watches and wants to play Scarlands with 4th edition, they can.
They can.
I know a lot of people in the... Anyway, back to the point though, yes. So you there was a lot of stuff from 3.5 that you're missing.
Yeah.
That you were missing.
So one of the things we did, I'm trying to remember which creature it was. Instead of doing damage, it takes away because the original creature did like level drain or something like that. And we're like, that isn't a thing in 5th edition. so we did a thing where it was like it takes away your hit dice, not your hit points, not the dice themselves, but when you would do like short rest and roll hit dice to gain hit points back, you have fewer because this creature drains them. Do you remember which creature it was? I'm trying to remember which creature it was.
I don't right now.
You don't remember which one? Was it? I'm trying to remember which creature it was. But yeah, we've got a creature that does that. We redid because some of the conversions were really hard. Because it was
I think it's chill wisp.
It's chill wisp. Yeah, it was the chill wisp. Which also makes these cool lanterns that you can use. You know, cold, literally lanterns that create cold instead of warm. Cold lanterns. Put one in your icebox. That's one. And so I was saying, some of the creatures were hard to convert because there wasn't, again, a 1-to-1 match. I took it upon myself to convert the hags that hadn't been converted yet. Scarlands originally had 6 different types of hags, which are way more powerful than the standard hags you find in like the source release document for D&D. Get hags for various terrains, so swamp, ocean, caverns, lightning, storm hag, all these different hag types. And they were some of the most powerful creatures in the 3.5 days. The official creature collection for 5th edition D&D and Pathfinder for Scarlands converted 3 of them. They came out with this kind of rough template of how you can play a hag, but it was pretty loosey-goosey. There was like, you could try this, you could do this thing, you could do that thing. And I was like, this is confusing as a creator who wants to create a monster. I want just one rule, how to do it, and tell me how to do it. So I was like, well, I'll write it. So I wrote a new template for how to create a hag, and then created 4 new, converted the hags that hadn't been converted yet, reconverted one that had been converted that didn't do everything that she used to be able to do. These were named hags because there was a whole bunch of named hags in the Scarlands. And then created a new hag type, which Alain actually gave us the idea for, called a sand hag, because there's a lot of deserts in Skarn, and I was like, this is a terrain that there's no hag for. This is silly, because we got a tundra hag, we got a jungle hag, we've got a woods hag. Why is there no sand hag? So we created her, and she's terrifying because she does necrotic damage, not fire damage.
I love sand-based enemies because I come from Dark Sun, so a sand hag would be wonderful to port over for myself. But that's awesome.
Yeah, and the other thing is we gave her this, or we created this ritual that came from the sand hags, where they do that. They do drain over a course of hours. They cause exhaustion for a character if they do a ritual over, so they can get like a piece of that character's like a hair or something from somebody, and then do this ritual over it, so that they very well, I'd say slowly, but like over each hour they take a level of exhaustion. So in 6 hours they're basically dead, and so the party has a very limited amount of time to prevent this from happening. So it kind of gives that wonderful little pressure on your players to, go stop this ritual before Bob dies, or the king dies, or this party member dies, or whoever. And you can do things to like, well, we'll just keep casting healing and that'll undo the exhaustion. Okay, that buys you time. Another hour. It's not gonna last long. So that was another one that I just thought, this is fun. This is a fun, silly thing, and scary. I wouldn't say silly. It's actually scary and fun. And
one thing that I liked about the way is that you converted the hags is that you put emphasis on the fact that not all hags are humans. Because in the 3rd edition books, most hags are humans, and their art looks human, even if any humanoid species can become a hag. So here we have an Azat hag, we have, I think, a Drentali elf hag. So we have some more variety and not only humans.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. I've always thought that it's weird that hags are humans.
There's no reason why they would be. And we also clarified some points too, because hags are tough to work with because they fall in a lot of bad stereotypes. Anti-Semitic, misogynistic. How do you talk about a evil witch woman, but in a way that isn't just gonna kind of a sour taste at the table, And so one of the things we do address is to consider this in your story. Are all hags ugly? They don't need to be. They need to be horrific. And why are hags ugly? It's intentional because they're using it to create horror as a way of following their tightness, Mormont, mother of snakes. So that's it. We bring it back into the story and we make that part of the story rather than just sort of a flippant, hags are ugly because they're ugly, and just make it intentional. It's like, oh, it's a horror thing. We also talk about, like, do all hags have to be women? And then actually in 5.2 and whatever you want to call D&D 2024, I've been calling it 5.2 because I think it's SRD is going to be version 5.2, or the OGL will be 5.2. They said, hags we don't have to gender hags. Why would we do that? We did in Skarn because of the lore around Mormo, because Mormo herself as a Titaness is a misanthrope, and she's like, men are stupid. So we're like, and so all of my hags will be women. And I was like, okay, but how can we address that? What can you really not have a male hag? And so we were like, well, you could have a hag that had male parts because they don't care, as long as the hag calls themselves they or she, and everyone addresses them that way or her that way. And we're like, oh, let's talk about that. And so we kind of have a bit where we talk about that as well. Whereas, sometimes it's convenient to have a peen because you live in the jungle and you could be in the forest a lot easier, and that's okay. It doesn't make you less of a lady hag. So things like that, of like, think about this stuff. So we kind of added some text in there for folks to play with in terms of how they want to present themselves or how they want to present these monsters. And honestly, every time I use a hag, unless it's like a very high powered campaign, inevitably the PCs will try to negotiate with her rather than fight her, mostly because they know they'll die. But they're truly terrifying creatures. And I didn't help by making them very powerful. Although my playtests, I just learned how to. I need to learn to run very powerful monsters better because they keep killing them in my playtests.
That's a problem I have a lot. I feel like I like throwing one or two creatures at a group of 4, and the action economy just rips right through it. Or
yeah.
I'm missing something.
You can't have a solo boss. You have to have minions, and we did create a bunch of minions for these hags too. We've got hex creatures and we've got haglings, which, although the haglings are very, very low level, but the haglings are fun to use if you want to kind of introduce the Mormo followers at a low level challenge rating. And I gave the haglings sneak attack with ray cantrips, with ranged cantrips, because why not?
Awesome.
No, you can't use sneak attack with a spell, but I was like, why not? I'm going to do that. I'm going to let them do that.
Yeah, I like that creativity in design, because you don't really... There are things that they'll never do in a first-party D&D supplement now that you can get away with the third-party stuff.
But we still want to keep it balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Adam, I unmuted you since you look like you're good.
Yeah, I got back. I'm no longer in the car. I am free.
Yay!
Free from the highway. So, yeah.
So, we've gone through a bunch of the great things about this book so far, a bunch of the great art, the monsters. Is there anything else we're missing about it?
There's a short story written from the perspective of our main character, Sangus, sort of our presenter, that my friend Francis wrote, as that talks about him kind of using his knowledge of Titans against some mercenaries who have kidnapped him, or basically grabbed him to take him in because he's wanted, because he's considered the blood mage by the good guys. So yes, our main character is, quote, a bad guy.
Nice.
He's actually, I think he's lawful neutral, I think, in the lore. So he's not really a bad guy, but he's known for, a lot of people think he's a Titanspawn because he gains powers from the Titans, but he doesn't follow them. He doesn't try to bring about their return. He's not, while he does gain power from them, he's not working with them. He's not working for them. So it's more like, well, I figured out if I can make a tonic out of the blood of this Titan, then that would give me bull strength, or whatever the equivalent is these days. So, so he does that. So he's the blood mage, but he's not like trying to bring about the return of the Titans. He's just doing his thing. He's a researcher. Really.
I just desire the knowledge.
And when Alain was like, let's use Sangus, I was like, huh? And then I was like, oh yeah, him. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's great.
I had several ideas about people who could serve as a title character, but I found that Sangus was this perfect combination of, he knows stuff about the Titans, but also he doesn't take a side into the Titan versus God dichotomy, and he has a kind of very kind of rational, scientific approach, almost like a modern atheist. He's the closest thing to a modern atheist that we could have, I feel, on the Scotland. And I felt that it was interesting to bring his perspective to the attention of the players of Scotland.
Yeah. What's an atheist in a world where the gods obviously
exist?
Yeah,
well, I mean, he acknowledges the existence and the power of the gods, but he doesn't work with them.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I feel like there was something, I forget, Neil deGrasse Tyson or someone was like, if magic existed, it would be science, because then we could understand it or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And I could see that with the gods too.
Yeah. And that's some of the points he makes, like because the whole first chapter, I kind of wrote it from his perspective, or except for the asides that are obviously to dungeon masters, but from his perspective of, this is why I've done this research. There's an ocean of blood. Why aren't we doing anything about it?
Exactly.
He's an environmentalist. Like, we need to research this stuff. We need to find out, like, how do we fix this? What do we do about this? We've tainted the world. We've scarred the world.
Why aren't we doing anything?
Yeah. So he's a researcher trying to figure this out, and understanding like what this stuff the Titans left behind with their destruction is ruining our planet now. What do we do? Let's learn about it. So that's kind of the whole core thing of his character, which, I mean, I loved it. And Fran took off, and she turns around, and she's like, I'm writing a short story, and I'm like, you are? And we're like, Alain, can we stick in a short story? He's like, sure, why not? So chapter 2 is a short story about Sangus's adventures.
So
other thing
yeah.
I forgot. There are 4 new playable species as well. That's a huge piece of the book. So 4 of the monsters we converted. We were like, I wonder if we could play one. And we did a bit of research and figured out the rules for playing 4 new species. Filchers, who are like these uplifted lemurs, who showed up as like a kind of a weird animal in one of the books, and we're like, ooh, they could be playable. They're not too overpowered.
Yeah, I noticed they had like a class option to be a rogue, and that was like the only thing in 3rd edition. I was like, they should be able to do more. And I my first approach with them, my wife likes Futurama too much. I was like, what if I just made an entire species that was just Nibbler from Futurama? Which is like this animal thing that's like super smart that pretends it's an animal.
Which creature is this again? The
Filchers.
Filchers.
So if you want to play the Boomafoo in D&D, you can.
They're cute little lemurs that will bite your arm off.
Nice.
We've got one called the Storm Child, which was another one of those like throwaway things in a creature collection. The descendants, humanoid descendants of who had been infected by one of the storm titans, the Titan of Winds or the Titan of Lightning and Storms. And we were like, well, it's already a human. Why couldn't that be a playable option? And so we kind of nerfed it because it was a little too overpowered. We're like, okay, we can nerf this down and make it playable. And then like you get more powerful as you go up in level. But that one was tough because the Storm Children are doomed to die before they finish puberty.
Oh,
so you'd be playing someone who you know you are going to die and you're not going to live past your teens. So your character probably starts out younger than a lot of the other PCs. So you might start out at 14, 15, 16 years old, but you're like, and I'm going to die before I hit 20.
Yeah. Unless you hit like 14th level, then you got your options.
Yeah. It's like, well, I'm going to go monk, or something. But it's like, I will just stop growing older. That's how I won't die. Is I'll stop growing older.
Yeah.
So Storm Children. We've got the Vertigan, who again another like, why aren't these PCs? They were not too overpowered. They had class levels in the old book. They're just funky elves. Oh, they're not really elves. They don't have they don't have any of the elven traits beyond the ears, but they make people dizzy. They give you vertigo. So it was like, that's a neat thing. And I forget who said it, but I get behind it. I only reason I talk, I didn't come up with any of these. I just did the conversions for the people who did.
I helped with most of these and wrote
yeah, you did.
for most of them. I was the one that was kind of responsible. Like, you know what? We need to do a few species in this book because it's always fun playing something new or seeing something new.
Adam and I co-wrote a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
So I did the Filcher. I think I did the Vertigan. I might have got some help on that one, but I did do the Vertigan. And I also did the fourth one, which was the hardest one to write in this entire book.
The Sundered.
The Sundered? Yeah.
That's why I left them for last, because they are complicated. And I debated, like, should this be a playable species? Because this is really... this was the only one of the four that we really play tested a lot. Because we were like, this seems really broken. And we spent a lot of time hemming and hawing. It's like, well, Scarland species tend to be a little bit more broken, a little bit more powerful than your standard D&D stuff, because we tend to give them like a little extra. If you create a character with the player guide for 5e, it's like you got an extra skill that you normally wouldn't get, or an extra feat or something like that, based on backgrounds and stuff. So we're like, well, maybe it's okay. They are two people who are smooshed together in one body. Or, well, really one person who has two faces who can separate into two people.
Whoa, that's pretty.
Yeah, so we were like, okay, when they separate, their hit points get cut in half for each half. But they've one mind. So do they get... So we really talked about action economy.
Yeah.
In the end, we were like, as a unit... if one of them is hit with something, they're both, unless it's a physical thing, only one is hit. But if it's a mental thing, like they have to make a wisdom save or one of the things like that, it hits both of them. So and they're like at disadvantage and that kind of stuff. And they only get one reaction between the two. They only get one bonus action between the two, but they get an extra action. That was the one thing we did, was like, they do get an extra action, but it can't be the same action. It's like, you can't do an attack. They can't both attack. They can do one can attack and one can cast a spell. But then we're like, oh my god, it's still broken.
Yeah,
so they're broken.
Until they dropped the fireball on them. Then they were dreading their life decisions.
Yeah, because you're spending your hit points to have this extra ability. So it's like, is it worth it? And so I'm still like, they're still pretty overpowered.
Yeah, you could give them disadvantage on concentration if you need to.
They do have disadvantage on concentration.
Oh, they do. Okay.
They have disadvantage on concentration. Yeah.
There's a lot of DM options for them. They are one of the more difficult, and they're also one of the more Scarred Lands focused.
Yeah.
One, if you're looking to use it for another setting, I would probably make it that somehow they existed when both the ethereal plane and the material plane were together.
Mhm.
And then when that split apart, that split them apart as a species, and they're trying to smash it back together. That's how I would do them in another setting if somebody's interested in playing one.
Yeah, we gave them, because they're always in pain, we were trying to interpret what that looks like. And as myself, I have fibromyalgia, so I'm pretty much always in pain. So I was like, well, I can just think about it, what my life is like, and I find a hard time to concentrate or remember things. Well, what if they have they're wizards who have disadvantage in concentration checks? That's fun.
Yeah.
And we gave them lots of concentration check spells. That's mean. But a player could take advantage of that and be like, I'm just not going to play a wizard. I'm going to play a rogue. And I gave myself sneak attack or something like that. So, but only one of them gets to attack. So it's like, well, maybe I'll play multi-class someday. I am positive that a savvy player could exploit this and make something really monstrous out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, speak to your GM before you play a Sundered.
Yeah. Speak to your GM before you play anything, really.
Anything.
Well, it's a game of communication.
The filter's probably safe, but the other three maybe not.
Filter. Yeah, the filter over there, just sitting. Is that a wall of force? Yes, he can climb it.
Oh, that's true. They can climb
They
anything.
can climb the wall of force.
The filters do have spider climb, like they just are spider climb. Like little
They are spider climb.
Yeah. We did give them that. So
I see you also have subclasses thrown in here.
yeah. I was very annoyed that none of the official Scarlands books have Vigilant as a flippin' subclass. And so I was like, I'm gonna throw it in this book. I can't believe no one's done it. I wrote the novel Vigilant, so it's kind of close to my heart. So I threw that in there because it fits the book, because Vigilance can detect Titanspawn. That's kind of we had introduced the favorite enemy of Titanspawn back in, or did we do it here? Anyway, it's Titanspawn our favorite enemy. So we're like, if it's their favorite enemy, they know the difference. It's like, is that a Titanspawn or not? No, that's redeemed or whatever. And I don't have advantage on it. So we're like, let's make it let's give rules for this subclass.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the second one almost didn't make it into the book. I helped co-write it. I forgot who one of the other writers wrote up the basic gist of it, and that is the Arcane Parasite Warlock. So your patron either gifts you a magical parasite, or
is the parasite.
Your patron is the parasite.
Yeah.
So
Very gold.
Fun.
Yes.
Sorcerer
Very, very gold a la Stargate. In fact, we were like, we made so many Stargate jokes while creating this little thing.
Yeah.
Because they don't take control of you. You don't become the parasite. They just sort of ride on. So I kind of was thinking it was more like
Tok'ra?
Maybe, I don't know. More, yeah, Tok'ra or like those things from Babylon 5.
It's been a while since I watched Babylon 5.
Yeah,
there's
I know what you're talking about, the Babylon 5 one.
Yeah. Except that most of them aren't supposed to be. There are parasite versions that are evil, but then the symbiote versions are good. So yeah, more like the Tok'ra in that sense. And they just gift as a warlock. Here's your powers. I'm giving them to you, and then their subclass is a kind of sorcery. Based on what the original symbiote did in the 3X book, because this is a conversion. Awesome. So we did create a symbiote mage with like other rules, but it's not really a playable thing. And I threw in a template of like, you could apply this to a wizard, but I felt like something more you do to an NPC than a PC. So when they were like, let's make this to a warlock patron, I was like, that's obvious.
And it's very interesting because it's also kind of looking to do something Warlock normally doesn't do, which is heavily invest in perception. Because the symbiote helps you see better, helps you detect things better, gives you better insight. helps you with saves. It's a very interesting subclass that can do a decent amount. And you can talk to your GM if you think maybe it should have more access to meta magic, because we did limit it for balance reasons, but it could get some more if necessary, or you just take the metamatic adept feat.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to time here. As we're closing out, what is the future for Scarred Lands for you all? What are you looking to do?
Savage Worlds.
Yeah.
Not Scarred Lands. Wait a minute.
You're right.
Savage Worlds.
That's the future for Scarred Lands.
Oh yeah, that's Travis is doing
Travis
that.
like is doing conversion. So we've been playing in the 5e bucket for a while, but slowly coming out with some new stuff with Scarred Lands in a new system. So we're looking at Savage Worlds as an option, and Travis has come out with some small pieces and is hoping to come out with a bigger book later. I've got some projects that I'm working on behind the scenes as well that I don't want to talk about publicly quite yet because I don't know what's going to happen with them yet. But
Fingers
suffice
crossed.
to say, something I've been wanting to do for a long time is something I'm working on now.
Awesome.
And you can find out more on my website if you really wanted to know.
Yeah.
I just don't want to make any promises.
No worries. Alain? Oh, sorry, Adam.
There. Sorry. So as for me, currently I'm looking at maybe like going off on my own and maybe shooting. I know that there's like nine.
You cut out.
There? Hello? Did I die?
Yeah, you're just reverberating a lot. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I might look at the thing and maybe just write random things in the folders if I find the time to see about finishing that. Maybe I'll move the Savage Worlds and you'll see my name somewhere helping out with that. I'm also interested in maybe writing up an adventure or two kind of set in... We all know about the Blood Sea. Everybody focuses on that. But nobody focuses to the left of the map too much. And I kind of want to highlight what's going on there. Because you have a Sparta-like nation there. You have a nation that's essentially like a neutral kind of, hey, we used to be your navy, but now you have to pay us for protection, and we're our own nation now.
And
then you have yeah, that's Karya.
Yeah, I used to Karya, but I was like, and then there's also the Drifting Isle.
The Drifting Isle is also fun.
Yeah.
It's an island that worships the demigod of dreams, and I guess people also want to smuggle a very special blue flower from that specific location, so there's some piracy gold for you. And then, of course, the breadbasket of Gelspod is right there. That's where most of the food comes from. And they are, from what it looks like, pretty much land trade cut off by a lot of very hostile areas. So the ocean is probably the best place for them to go to get to like Vesh or Mithril. Like to get across, or Calastia maybe.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not that, I mean, Vesh and Mithril and Calastia do have farming, but Darrakeen it's got very fertile areas. I totally agree with that. And then you've got the evil dwarves in Turdin who cause lots of problems. So I agree. The West Coast isn't nearly as played with as much because there hasn't been as many books. Because the 3X had books for Mithril, Calastia, Hadrad,
Broti,
and Holofaust, and there's been lots of books for the Hornsoft Forest. So they covered a lot of the East Coast more, and I'd say the West Coast hasn't gotten as much love.
Yeah, and it's kind of a shame because one of my favorite characters is literally a sentient sword that is on Karya right now. and he is not a good person. He is theoretically a BBEG option.
Yes.
Nice.
If you want to fight a sword that is like an 18th level wizard.
I love
It's
that
hard.
sport too.
It's hard not to talk about D&D without talking about your favorite characters you've played.
Mm.
Oh, that's not a character I played. That's from Relics and Rituals.
Magic
Oh,
actually.
oh, yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
See,
So-
I said earlier, Relics and Rituals is the one I know the least.
Yeah. I haven't played him. I want to run him as a BBEG eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has some plans.
And Alain, where? Oh,
Yeah. So for me, first, I don't want to see a stat block anymore. I don't want to see a monster stat block anymore. No more. I'm going to focus on supplements that expand a little bit on the setting. So I have two ideas that I want to pursue. The first one is communities that are a little bit outside of the fringes of existing nations that are currently, let's say, being created by refugees or people, or maybe merchant outposts. And see how they can develop into maybe future city-states later on. And the other is continuing my book, my series on the different monstrous species of the Skardons, which is a little bit like the other side of the coin of Sangus' Guide to the Titanspawn. So I've called it its Cutler's Guide to Redemption. And it's a way to look at how the different monstrous species are, whether they are fully redeemed, fully Titanspawn, maybe halfway through, what are the gist and where are they found in Gelsbad and so on.
awesome. Now, I think we're just at time. Let's go through what's something else you're working on that you want to plug, and just social media if you need. We can start with Alain first.
All right, I'm Giorla. You won't find me on social media anymore. You can find me on Discord, on the Onyx Pass Discord server, pretty much the Scarlet channels, but also the Earthbend Cycles channels. I'm working on a supplement for the World Below that I hope to publish on the StoryPass Nexus when the StoryPass Nexus will be available for the World Below. Finger crossed to find the future.
Adam?
So I mainly use Discord as well. You can find me at the Onyx Path Discord, usually in the Scarred Land section. I go by Autonomous Zool on there, and my profile pic usually changes, but I'm usually the same person, and I'm usually in there every week or so to look at what's going on. Otherwise, you can message me at shayaa0130@gmail.com. That's an email that I got. But yeah, this is kind of my first time doing freelance work like this, so yeah, it's been fun.
Awesome. And Sarah?
Sarah L. Stewart. Find my works on DriveThruRPG if you look under that name. But most of my stuff you can find links from our website that my wife and I have, morelikethisindustries.com. We are in the middle of updating it, but the front page is now up to date. So from there, you can find links to most of our books. As well as I'm also on Discord as Ketina, Ketinas. I probably check the Scarred Lands page daily. I'm a little bit maybe not quite daily, but I talk a lot on there. So I'm easy to find on Discord. I'm also on Tumblr. Is anyone on Tumblr? As Ketina S, but I'm not I'm not in any other social media. I just like Tumblr because it's sort of chill.
Yeah.
In these trying times, it's the only one that I feel isn't trying to eat me.
Oh, yeah.
I feel you. Oh boy.
And I'm the Awkward GM Corbin. I will put a link down below in the description or the comments for Sargus's guide to the
Sangus.
Sangus's.
Sangus.
Sargus is actually, I think, like a location nearby me or something. I think that's
That's actually funny.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But Sangus's guide to the Titanspawn, we'll have a link down below. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Bye.
GG.
Bye.